Um, hello. Denise Matteau here. Um, yeah, once again, I start to second guess myself, thinking, I'm being a little too hard on these estuary people, this Paul Vanderklay. I even started to make a video kind of softening things up a bit. There's a link to some very, very disturbing news that's being not reported in the description to this video. I did start to speak about the anti Catholic undercurrent that, of course, exists in the CRC, Calvinist Church. And one of my concerns about Paul Vanderklay's apparent cult building is that the Estuary movement group, which is a CRC outreach by his own admission, I was trying to say, well, maybe he's just a pastor of a congregation that's blurring the line a little bit between outreach to a Christian general population and his own congregation. But in fact, he Estuary is in fact a subsidiary of the Calvinist denomination, Christian Reformed Church, which is extremely anti-Catholic. Calvinism always has been. Um, and they've been doing what appears to be some sneaky kind of attempting to divert young men who are converting from Protestantism to Eastern Orthodox Catholicism. And Vanderklay has made some rather telling expression on his face when he wondered why you don't see too many Latin Rite Roman Catholics showing up in their circles. Well, it's because we're particularly familiar, even more than the Eastern Orthodox, with the Calvinist history. And we have been experiencing real problems in this country, the United States. Doesn't get into the news, but it's been happening. The dramatic event of the shooting, which was immediately followed, the Catholic children who were shot in Minneapolis yesterday. I just ran across a report by Megan Kelly that there were other schools in Minneapolis, other Catholic schools, a Jesuit high school, and another Catholic school, which also experienced shootings. And it was never reported in the press. You're not seeing those reports. Megan Kelly, the link to her report on it is in the description. The immediate reaction to the shootings by the Minneapolis mayor, who is a Jewish man who goes to a Reform Jew synagogue, Reform meaning, I guess, liberal modern, not part of the Third Temple cult or something like that. Um, he made an extremely obnoxious, hostile, and nasty statement at his press conference following the shooting of those children that they were in prayer when they were shot and it didn't do them any good. So don't offer thoughts and prayers for the families. Most of us are still shaking with horror. Well, I looked at some of the channel offerings that this little corner, which is the kind of like you might say the front door into the estuary, where they fool people into thinking it's just a random collection of Christian oriented people. This guy, Mark Parker, is a major fundraiser for the Livingstone's Church. He's doing their advertising. He was talking about something like a budget of 20,000 a month is some kind of target they have for Vanderclay's little organization. Now, Mark Parker is the man who I had mentioned was getting some pushback because apparently other people are finding out that he doesn't really go to church, although he does a lot of pious sounding, we'll pray for this and that remarks in his streams. He's extremely violently left wing about against he's trying to tell people that ICE agents are smashing children against the asphalt. He's um, really angry that people aren't joining the mobs attacking the ICE agents. That's radical. He posted some stuff today. Um, it was very upsetting, and I'm even pulling a blank on it. Extreme violent. Um, this is the profile of what's going on. Now, Vanderclay put a comment under one of my videos saying that laughing that I'm blaming him for stuff, but not mentioning this guy, Pastor Van Donk. Well, I looked up Pastor Van Donk. Pastor Van Donk is another Dutch Reformed, Christian Reformed Church Calvinist who shows up in a few interviews here and there, but he doesn't have a big presence. I couldn't find much in his background online. Um, but he is said to be the actual designer of the Estuary organization. He's the one who put it together. And according to some people who someone posted to back up what Vanderclay was saying, Vanderclay is simply the front man. The one behind the scenes is this supposedly this Van Donk character. And it's interesting that Van Donk is a closed book. Just exactly what you would have for a dangerous, radicalizing cult. And now you might say, well, Denise, so Vanderclay is not using good judgment. He's got Grim Grizz doing the surrealist, um, chaotic, subliminal messaging, really far left anarchist artwork in his videos while trying to verbally present himself as almost a MAGA conservative. It's a role he's playing, and he plays a role of being a shaman using cards and playing cards, fortune telling stuff, just not really fortune telling, but just pulling up a card and saying it means something for what's going on, and then throwing some dice and saying the numbers on them, these little Dungeon and Dragon type of dice, doing gematria with them. So he's appealing to superstitious, impressionable, suggestible people. And Vanderglade promotes him frequently as, another face, an important face of the estuary. And then you've got this Mark Parkman radicalizing towards violence. I'm drawing a blank. It was an anti Catholic, pro violence video that he posted. He reposted from somebody else. It wasn't his own video, but he reposted it with a remark supporting it today. Now, he is doing publicity, fundraising ads for the Livingstone's Church in Sacramento. That's Paul Vanderclay's church. Paul Vanderklay is okay with having this extreme left wing radical being a visible fundraiser for his actual bricks and mortar church. And as the Jewish member of the group, Jacob Federecci, forgive me if I'm saying, I think it's Federecci, said that Vanderklay never made any pretense that Estuary was not a subsidiary outreach of the CRC. It is a CRC project. And now, of course, it's coming out that this mysterious Pastor Van Donk, um, is apparently the co founder with Vanderklay. And according to what was posted, he's actually the brains behind organizing it. Vanderklay is pulling in dissatisfied young men, focusing on the young men who are concerned enough about their faith life that they're not willing to simply abandon the Protestant denominations that aren't doing it for them anymore. And they're seeking out the Eastern Orthodox Catholic Church, which is not an easy conversion. That it's not like walking into a Billy Graham meeting and getting hands laid on. You have to go through quite a bit of study and testing to convert to that religion. So these are dedicated young men. Vanderklay is pulling them into this mishmash with two very active main fronts: shamanic, surrealistic, subliminal, emotional kind of guy, Grim Grizz, violent, left wing, radicalizing kind of guy, and the money man, Mark Parker. I was second guessing myself a little while ago, telling myself, oh, it's just I'm just seeing personality types. The cicada 3301 thing that Grim Grizz definitely comes out of. He may not have participated in the puzzle games, but he comes out of that Discord. He described being in the truther community around Isaac Cappy. That's who that is. That's a paramilitary recruitment cult, basically. It's a they set up puzzles. They seek out personality types that are then invited into further training for other purposes. And some of them have ended up in jail. I'm not going to go into it all here because it's too much. You can research it. Research the Cicada 3301, William Amick. They're very involved with satanic stuff. I mean, a lot of the people involved with the puzzles are just innocent. They don't get into any of that stuff. But there is that cluster at the center of it. And that was definitely what was involved with Isaac Cappy. A very suspicious suicide. It was a suicide, but there's a great deal of very suspicious activity around it. And Grim Grizz's behavior towards me, before I even said a word, was to go on attack as soon as all I said was that Pastor Barron is Novus Ordo, kind of modern liberal Catholic. And Barron, of course, he also says a lot of traditional stuff, so he gets both sides angry at him. I didn't even say whether I thought that was a good or a bad thing. I just said, "Oh, Barron is he's Novus Ordo," and that was a signal to Grim Grizz. His immediate reaction was hostile. Called me a bunch of names, said I didn't know what I was talking about. Then he did a thing where he uses AI in his stream. AI told him, no, she's right. Baron, Bishop Barron has been identified as Novus Ordo. He identifies himself as Novus Ordo. And so what Grim Grizz did next was he put up a thumbnail of a video from 2019, 6 years ago, in which I was talking about this death cult. This death cult. It's the same death cult. That Jewish mayor of Minneapolis made a very, very extremely hateful statement that is being backed up by the Democrat Party. There were other shootings nobody's talking about. And Mark Parker is practically calling for civil war. And he is a major fundraiser. I mean, it may not be major in terms of how much money. They probably have money coming. But that's the other thing. Why would you have an extreme left wing, anti ICE raid, anti American worker guy, ideologue like Mark Parker, push him out front as your fundraiser unless you're looking for money from those that radical left wing group? And what are they going to fund? You're collecting these young men. And this is the other thing. Look at the interactions with women in the estuary. I've had I've sent private messages, just trying to get conversations going with some of these people. No answer. They answer publicly if I'm in a chat or on a stream. I'm treated openly with what looks like respect. But they don't engage with a female. And that is part of the radicalization process. And the young men who are interested in Eastern Orthodox, one of the things about the Eastern Orthodox Church is you are stepping back in time. And the male engagement with female is not what it is in the liberal West. I mean, yeah, the Eastern Orthodox is still part of the West, but not so much. So Vanderklay and Van Donk are working to set up a radical cult that's targeting as its recruits young men who are willing to consider some pretty extreme lifestyle changes. Because if you go fully into Eastern Orthodox Catholicism, yeah, there's going to be some lifestyle changes. And what Vanderklay and Van Donk and these guys, Parker and Grizz and these others, are doing is they're trying to pull them off to one side so that they can be radicalized into something else, something violent. And please look at Megyn Kelly's report on those other school shootings. I'm still in shock. And look at the timing. And it isn't just what's going on in Minneapolis. The Biden administration spokeswoman, Jen Psaki, within seconds, that you can see the timestamp on her X tweet, she tweeted something equally as hateful as what that Jewish mayor tweeted. Yes, the Jews, Jacob Federici is in the estuary for his own reason. Mossad, this is a Mossadian thing. You go ahead and laugh at me. We're dealing with some serious problems here. We are in a civil war, and this is war, real war. Those are our children, our Catholic children that are being shot. Paul Vanderklay is not a nice guy. Van Donk is not a nice guy. They have nice, friendly face, but look at what they're doing. Look at this Mark Parkman. Really listen to what he says and ask yourself why. I mean, they can't disguise their contempt for the Orthodox Catholic. They're trying to. They try to suck up to Jonathan Peugeot and pretend. And unfortunately, Jonathan Peugeot, he's getting good marketing for his artwork at these estuary conferences. So he and John Vervaeke, they're willing to ride along. I doubt very much they really see what's going on. They're in their academic ivory towers. But something else is going on the ground level. I'm going to find the link to that thing that Parkman put up, Parker, and show it. I can't remember to describe exactly what it was, but it's aims at the Catholic shootings. Denise Matteau, over and out.